San Jose de Valderas, Spain, June 1, 1967, 8 p.m. Just before dusk, at about 2000 hours on the evening of June 1, 1967, a group of summer picnickers escaping the heat in the city were lounging in the shade in a small park along the southwest side of Camino a la Colonia. They were across the road from the castle and grounds of San Jose de Valderas, where the Santa Monica convent stood. Families and friends had brought snacks, lunches. At just before dusk they were suddenly surprised to see an unusual aircraft approaching at a very low altitude from over the Castile beyond the power towers. The towers were of the main east-west power transmission line running through the area. There was also a secondary power line running northwest-southeast and parallel to the road. The object approached from the east toward the power tower, where it made a 300-degree curve to its left and passed horizontally from left to right beyond the road but paralleling it, and at about the distance away as the secondary power line, also paralleling its line of flight. After passing the park, it made another curve to the left, back toward the east, where it briefly settled to the ground in the scrub area on the castle grounds a couple of kilometers away, remained a short time, and then rose into the air and flew away. Two of the picnickers recovered from their surprise in time to grab their cameras and begin taking pictures of the craft. Others were also seen to be getting their cameras out, but the sighting was so brief they may not have succeeded in getting pictures. The cameramen who succeeded were at that time standing in positions A and B on the attached diagram drawn by architect Antonio Lobet, who measured and studied the site. The positions of the flying object for each photograph are shown on the diagram as well as the original negative image area for each picture. Negatives X1 and X2 were snapped by Antonio Pardo from point A on the chart. Pardo forwarded 2 prints anonymously, and though he said he took more, he never re-established contact with the investigators. Negatives Y1 through Y5 were among those left at a photo developing shop for Antonio San Antonio by another anonymous donor who seems to have taken more in his photo series also. The second set of pictures were snapped from point B in the diagram. Other witnesses among the picnickers at the scene reported seeing 2 male photographers in approximately those positions as they snapped pictures of the event. There is no evidence that the 2 photographers were acquainted with each other. Negative Y1 shows the ship in an edge-on view very similar to an X2, except that at the moment of Y1 one may see a corona discharge around the point where the cupola joins the upper disk surface. An enlargement of this image reveals the glow quite well. Please notice that there is no evidence of suspension in the enlarged picture. The object was rocking from side to side as it approached. Picture Y2 shows the first picture of the object tilted sharply up on edge in an exaggerated phase of the rocking motion, clearly revealing a symbol on the bottom of the ship. Image Y3 shows the object just after passing in its nearest approach to the photographers, and in Y4 it is tilted at a steep angle again, once more revealing the symbol on the bottom. It may be seen in these pictures that the surface finish of the spacecraft does not look exactly like metals familiar to us. It has a more ceramic look, and it was reported as being whitish in color as viewed from the picnic area. A fine glassy finish was also used to describe it. Y4 is one of the images analyzed by GSW in which they claim to have found a suspension line. Nobody else has been able to verify this. A considerable enlargement from the negative still showed no evidence of any suspension. A whole book was written about this case alone in the Spanish language only, Un Caso Perfecto, One Perfect Case, by Antonio Ribera and Rafael Farias, in which they describe their investigations in detail and what they found that convinced them of its validity. There is additional supporting evidence that fills 7 full books on this case. Identical UFOs have been photographed at least 3 other times elsewhere around the world, and 350 foot of high-grade 35mm movie film was shot with a theodolite camera of an identical object over Andros Island off the coast of Florida on May 21, 1966. Unknown to the photographers, or the spectators at the picnic ground, a group of men and women who had been in contact with the operators of this craft for some time, about 30 of them, had gathered at a small restaurant a few kilometers away as a result of identical messages posted individually to 3 of them, including Fernando Sesma Manzano, Alicia Araujo, and Enrique Villagresa, advising them in advance of the approximate place and time of the expected pickup of some of their own expeditionary people there who had been in contact with these Spaniards. This is fully reported in UFO Contact from Planet UMMO, Volume 1, The Mystery of UMMO, the English-language version of El Misterio de UMMO by Antonio Ribera. The craft left rectangular tripod landing marks on the ground at the landing site, and several metal artifacts of small size were later found at the place of the landing. The landing tracks were photographed, measured, and tested for radiation and compaction. The photographs analyzed by GSW were several lens systems away from the originals, being neither original negatives nor prints directly from the originals, being copies of copies as we can best determine at this time. The very images published with the report should have negated the conclusions even if nothing were known of the inconclusive nature of the testing carried out by GSW. Our measurements upon the published computer image of the San Jose de Valderas photo used in this instance shows the width of the suspension line in this photo to be about 1.5 mm, while the measured diameter of the whole ship in the same image with the same scale is 50 mm, only 33 times the width of the line. If everything were increased by a multiple of 10, the object would be 500 mm or about 20 inch in diameter, and the line would now be 15 mm or about the size of a 5/8 rope for a 20 model, an absurdity beyond imagining if a hoax were in fact intended. An object 500 mm in diameter filling 16% of the photo image frame, measured in a full-frame print, would have to be within 15 feet of the camera to produce that size combination. The infinity setting for such a camera is about 30 feet, so this would require a mid-range camera setting for that shot. The time was late in the day, so setting much more critical. A smaller object would have a wider diaphragm aperture was needed, making the focus problem. Under these conditions, if the object were in to be closer to the camera, further complicating the focus, which it is, then the background would have to be considerably out of focus. If the background were in focus, this hypothetical model simply could not be at the same time. If the object were larger, say 1000 mm, twice as big, then this suspension line would be an unbelievable 14 in diameter to suspend this 1 meter model. French research scientists using better equipment than GSW failed to find any suspension line. We believe the evidence for validity of this series of photographs far outweighs the real contrary evidence produced up to now in this case. Antonio Ribera. June 1, 1967, San Jose de Valderas. Diagram of photo site from which Antonio Pardo and Antonio San Antonio's pictures were both taken of the same UFO at the same time. Layout by Antonio Lobet. June 1967, 2000 hours, San Jose de Valderas, Spain, photos X1 and X2 snapped by Antonio Pardo from location A on the diagram of the site by architect Antonio Lobet. Note the castle in the background. June 1, 1967, 2000 hours, San Jose de Valderas, Spain. Photos Y1 and Y2 in the hands of Antonio San Antonio, snapped from location beyond the diagram of the site using a different camera with more telephoto magnification in the lens system. June 1, 1967, 2000 hours, San Jose de Valderas, Spain. Photos Y3 and Y4 in the hands of Antonio San Antonio. Y4 is one of the images tested by Ground Saucer Watch. Note the ceramic-like look to the finish. June 1, 1967, 2000 hours, San Jose de Valderas. Enlargements of photos numbers Y1 and Y1 delivered to Antonio San Antonio. These are two of the images analyzed by GSW. Observe carefully the lack of suspension, and the sharp straight lines making up the symbol versus computer images.